Okay, so this is where I am right now. I've painted the baseboard just black with one coat of paint so far. I left this clear because this is going to be painted a slightly different colour for the plastic plaque to go with some reference photos and things for the final piece. Now this is ready. This will eventually be seated here, like so. I've attached the building to the base now, that's glued in place. The base itself had a lot of like little pieces, pre-made pieces of debris which had to be sanded down and chipped off to allow this to sit, because it wouldn't quite sit properly. I've created a couple of little holes here. What I'm going to do is dig out these to create like little craters similar here. Two reasons for that: one, to add effect to the diorama, and secondly, more so, to create a space for the refugees who are queuing at the checkpoint to have to file around. It forces them into an area. I will eventually have a small car, a Simca, that will go it's about roughly that size, and it will go roughly about there, and that will force, like I say, the refugees to go into the direction that I want them to go in, and form a queue instead of just assembling in a rough area. So we'll have a crater build here, small one, shallow one. This one will be slightly deeper, and the idea is maybe just to take this out, and because underneath here is just polystyrene, this can be all chipped out as well, and maybe take out a little piece of this wood here as well and create a bit of a hole here, just to give it a bit of effect, to make it look like it's being cut through. Okay, so that'll be there, like so. I've painted the barrier. It'll be in an up position. It's not attached, it's only temporary there for now. And we will have the fence. I've changed it slightly. The fence in the initial model is just supposed to go across, but I want to create like maybe more of a parkway. This will all be plastered over. Just this loose rough area here. This will be plastered with grass, gravel. So I've put the gate in the opposite direction. It's supposed to be here. I want it to go there instead, so that'll sit like that to create the car pathway. And the sentry box has also been done. That will go roughly there. And that's where we are right now. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to make some bricks for the rubble. These ones I made earlier, they come out really nice, and to make these we use one of these, a mould. For this, to make the bricks themselves, I just use some normal plaster, just some cheap plaster from DIY shop. First I mix with a little bit of water. And to add a little bit of initial colour, although this won't be the final colour by any means, we use a little bit of paint just to give it a first coat, or a first colour. So made a mess, and then just start to mix that in. The consistency you want is, can be a little bit loose, you don't want it too thick. And as I mentioned, this won't be the final colour by any means, because once they dry they go much lighter. Okay, so you want something like that. Just about a teaspoon and a half is enough to make this set of bricks. And then using a sculptor. Try not to have too much excess left over. Allows me to make more bricks and not have so much waste. And like I say, a teaspoon and a half is usually enough to complete this. If you have a few that aren't totally filled, that's not a problem, because obviously once you start to spread them around the diorama, you're going to have broken pieces, smaller bricks, half a bricks, and that just adds to the final appearance anyway. So like I say, if you have a few that aren't quite 100%, it's not a problem. Yeah. That's what you're left with. Okay, just like that. Flip it over and make sure that they're completely filled. They don't take much filling. And now I normally leave that for about a day or so to dry, and then we can turn them out. And then what's left in the pot, if there's any at all, I usually keep it into a separate pot if I can, scrape it all out, or even let it go dry and then keep it for another pot. And then afterwards, with a rolling pin or anything, you can break all that down into little rubble, into dust. And then once that's done, you can sprinkle it over the top of the rest of the groundwork, and it makes it look like brick dust, and you've used up all your scrap pieces. Okay, so we'll leave that for a day to dry, and then, like I say, eventually, once they're finally painted, you end up with great little bricks like that. Okay, so it's 24 hours later. These are all nice and dry, ready to turn out. So all we need to do is just tip them out to a piece of paper. It doesn't matter if a few are broken along the way, because they just add a bit more realism. And when they're all eventually out, like so, we're left with the little bricks. Now what I've done here, I made a solution of different colours, reds, oranges, browns, but it doesn't really matter, just brick tone colours, but quite watery. And then all I do after that, because they are quite pink, they are quite a light colour, is I just tip those into there, like so, and swish them around, and just let those soak up and absorb some of the liquid for about a day and a half. And then eventually they all come out into a bit of a richer colour. And that's how I do the bricks. Okay, so this is where I am right now with the base. Everything's been coated a couple of sprays of black paint. It's the first time I've done something like this. Normally I would have painted everything from the time it was sprayed onto the base, but I've seen a few other modelers do something similar, so I'll give this a try, and I think it might work a little bit better. There's a couple of spaces here where I've made some room in the plaster where the boxes are going to go, but I'll pre-paint those before I add them to make life a little bit easier. The craters have also been sprayed black to fit in, blend in everything with the base. At the back, there's you can't really see it too well, but there is some initial grass laid down here and a gravel path for the park. The fence too is going to be pre-painted and added later on, again to make life easier. a little bit of grass here, and the back I've just kept the rubble to a minimum. I don't want to overdo the rubble inside, same on the outside, because there's not that much part of the building damaged. But what I have done is I've pre-laid a flooring here, which I've masked off and added the rubble, and then once I'm happy with everything, the interior, I'll just take away off the masking tape and it will reveal the floor underneath. Okay, so this is where we are right now. A bit of colour added to the street and to the building. I airbrushed several shades of orange brown over the brickwork, adding some different tones each time to the basic mix to create a bit of variety. Then I've just gone over the individual bricks using 2 or 3 different colours to pick out some of the detail. I gave the debris on the floor a few sprays with the airbrush too, just to start adding some colour to that part as well. The pavement and the street between the two of them have been given an airbrush too with a light grey brown colour. And then the pavement was just given a light grey washed using just a little bit of acrylic paint and some water, and just a loose couple of washes over there to pick out some colours. And then the cobblestones on the street itself were given a couple of airbrushes using 2 or 3 variations on the basic colour to give it a bit of interest. And then one of the next jobs will be to pick out some of the individual cobblestones and pick out the rails from the trams to add some detail and start adding some colour there. And then eventually the walls and the cobblestones and the pavement itself will all be given a series of oil washes using oil paints, and that will really bring everything to life. Okay, at the back I've given the plaster on the walls a couple of coats of acrylic paint. This is just the undercoat, it's not the final colour. Some of the walls will be wallpapered and some parts will be painted, but with a coat of using MIG's Absolute chipping in between the two. Where the wallpaper will be torn and ripped, and where the paint will be, it'll be chipped away, just to imitate the old and battered building that it is. Inside on the floor, the debris and the furnishings will be kept to a minimum. I don't want to overdo it, but all that will be progressed and shown in the next video. I've even completed the first figure. That's from Masterbox's Checkpoint kit, the civilian man, but I've given him a new head from Hornet just to make him look like an older man, using again images from the internet to give me some ideas and some thoughts, and that's about it. So thanks for watching.